Well, 36-year-old garage worker Kochi Selamaj appeared in court in person today to enter that not guilty plea to the murder of Sabina Nessa.
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 Today, we're going to look into a case that is quite frankly heartbreaking. Sabina Nessa's life was tragically taken from her too soon in a case that shocked the UK and reignited fury towards violence against women. In what was a devastating case of wrong place, wrong time, Sabina was violently murdered by a stranger, Kochi Selamaj, as she walked to meet up with a friend. 28-year-old Sabina was a primary school teacher who taught a Year 1 class at Rushy Green Primary School in Catford. Sabina was raised in Bedfordshire, England, along with her older sister. Sabina went on to study sociology at the University of Greenwich in 2014 and then completed her PGCE teaching certificate at the University of Bedfordshire in 2020. Sabina had plans to spend some time teaching abroad in the UAE. Unfortunately, Sabina never got to fulfill this goal. On Friday, 17th of September 2021, Sabina left her home at around 8:30 p.m. to meet a friend in a bar less than 10 minutes away, but she never made it. No one saw or heard from Sabina until the next day, when her body was found in Cater Park, Kidbrooke, southeast London, by a member of the public walking his dog. He at first believed Sabina was drunk and so was talking to her, but he soon realised Sabina was dead. So, what happened? As Sabina was walking through Cater Park, she was attacked by a stranger with a 2-foot-long weapon. This stranger was Kochi Selamaj, a 36-year-old garage worker from Eastbourne. The vicious attack was caught on CCTV, where Selamaj could be seen lurking in the park before spotting Sabina. Selamaj looked around to check no one else was there before striking Sabina over the head 34 times with a metal weapon, believed to be a red road sign, until she was unconscious. Selamaj was so aggressive that he broke the metal pole into pieces. He then carried her away before strangling her and removing her tights and underwear. Selamaj attempted to hide Sabina's body under some grass and then left her there. He could also be seen using wet wipes to clean a nearby bench. Following the murder, Selamaj drove back to Eastbourne, making a stop in Tunbridge Wells, Kent, where he got rid of the weapon in the River Tees. Just after midnight, Selamaj arrived back at the Grand Hotel. The attack is believed to have been premeditated and sexually motivated. The prosecution argued it was premeditated, not in the sense that Sabina was specifically targeted, but that the attack targeted any lone female who would have been vulnerable in the location. It is believed that Kochi Selamaj had travelled from his home in Eastbourne, East Sussex, to London with the sole purpose of carrying out an attack on a lone woman. 3 days prior to the attack, Selamaj booked a room at a 5-star hotel in Eastbourne, the Grand Hotel. On the day of the attack, hotel staff actually alerted police after Selamaj checked in, as they were concerned by his demeanour and the fact he lived close by. Throughout the course of the investigation, it was discovered that Selamaj had a history of violence. He had previously been violent towards his ex-partner and had put his hands around her neck in a strangling motion a number of times. Just 2 hours before the attack, he had tried to contact his former partner in a failed attempt to pressure her into sexual activity. His former partner said in a statement that Selamaj appeared very agitated when they met up in his car near the hotel. Following the rejection by his former partner, Selamaj got into his car, a Nissan Micra, and drove to Kidbrooke, London. In London, he went into Sainsbury's and bought a rolling pin, chili flakes, and an energy drink. It is believed that Selamaj intended to use the rolling pin as a weapon, but instead opted for the road sign. Although Sabina's lower clothing was removed, an examination of her body showed no positive signs of sexual assault. However, it couldn't be excluded. Perhaps the thrill of the murder was sexual gratification enough for Selimaj. What do you think? How did Selimaj get caught? Well, initially 2 other males were arrested, but they were released under investigation. Neither of these males were the murderer. Officers trawled through hundreds of hours of CCTV footage, which led them to images of an unknown male seen entering the park, and before that, driving into Pegler Square and arriving in Kidbrooke at 7:41 p.m. Selimaj's car proved to be crucial in leading the police to him. In one clip, they saw what looked like a fluorescent object glinting as his car moved out of the park. This clip gave officers an idea about the suspect's direction of travel, allowing them to focus their investigation on that area. It also helped them narrow down the suspect's vehicle. The CCTV was blurry, and police could not make out the registration number. However, they could tell it was a silver or beige Nissan Micra. With help from Nissan in London, they narrowed down the vehicle to the year and type. The nearest ANPR camera that the suspect would definitely have had to drive past to get into Cater Park was broken. This meant that officers had to look at all vehicles fitting the description within a 2-mile radius of the crime scene. They had more than 60 Nissan Micras to be eliminated. Media appeals, which included images of the car and unidentified male, were carried out. This led to over 170 separate pieces of information flooding in from the public. Officers eventually came across a car that aroused suspicion. The car had been in the Eastbourne area for a full year prior to the murder, and then suddenly travelled to London for a 4-hour period on the night of the murder, before travelling back to Eastbourne, which was weird, right? This vehicle was registered to Kochi Selimaj, which started the investigation into him. Officers discovered a phone number for Selimaj, and phone data showed his phone made an identical journey to that made by the suspect car on the evening of the murder. On the 26th of September 2021, Selimaj was arrested and taken into Met Police custody. Selimaj's clothing matched that of the male seen on CCTV. The police also seized blood-stained trainers, which proved to be a DNA match to Sabina. The following day, he was charged with the murder of Sabina Nessa. In December 2021, Selimaj admitted responsibility for Sabina's death, but pleaded not guilty to the murder. He was remanded in custody until February 2022, where there would be a further hearing. In February 2022, Selimaj pleaded guilty to the murder at his trial at the Old Bailey and was sentenced to life imprisonment, having to serve a minimum term of 36 years. Selimaj was described as an evil coward by the Met Police Detective Chief Inspector Neil John. DCI John went on to explain how it is highly unusual for someone to go from zero to committing a crime of this magnitude. Selimaj was described as a dangerous and violent offender. To this day, he has never shown remorse for his actions, nor provided an explanation for why he did it. He didn't even attend his own sentencing hearing. Sabina's parents summarized everyone's thoughts when addressing Selimaj. They asked him, "How could you do such a thing to an innocent girl walking by, minding her own business? You are not a human being. You are an animal." On the contrary, Sabina was described by her sister Jabina as an amazing role model who was powerful, fearless, bright, and just an amazing soul. Sabina was described as kind and caring by the head teacher of the primary school where she worked. The murder of Sabina Nessa sparked fury amongst UK citizens who were already campaigning against violence against women in the Reclaim the Streets movement, following the high-profile abduction, rape, and murder of Sarah Everard just 6 months earlier. Reclaim the Streets organised a vigil for Sabina Nessa. The co-founder described her frustration over how nothing had been done to improve safety for women since Sarah Everard's murder, and expressed that women's lives and safety are not prioritised. However, questions were raised over why the murder of Sarah Everard, a white woman, gained more press coverage than that of Sabina Nessa, a woman of colour. The charity Women's Aid wrote, "All women deserve an equal level of support and attention. It is not good enough the victims from black and marginalised communities did not receive the same level of profile." Following Sabina's murder, Greenwich Council distributed more than 200 security alarms to women and vulnerable people in Kidbrooke. However, this attracted criticism, with many accusing the council of making male violence a women's problem, rather than addressing the root cause. In summary, the premeditated, aggravated murder of Sabina Nessa was, and still is, completely heartbreaking. The fact that Selimaj loitered around a park just waiting for a lone woman to attack is so scary, and understandably has women and girls frightened to be out alone. Violence against women is, and always has been, an issue, and cases like this reiterate how important it is that more is done to end it. Women and girls should be able to walk through a park or anywhere without fear of being attacked. Please comment below your thoughts on this case.